I want gold to reach $4,000. I believe that's what we will see this year. My goal for silver is $75. That might happen by the end of the year. You're watching Silver News Daily. To see more, click here. The most explosive silver rise in history may already be underway, but time is running out. David Hunter isn't just making crazy guesses. He says silver could go through the roof and reach $75 in just a few months. Due to a perfect storm of fear at the Federal Reserve, a $20 trillion printing spree, and the failure of banks around the world, that is shaking the banking system to its core. Already, silver broke through $39 an ounce for the first time in 14 years, breaking through a barrier that had been there for 10 years. This caused worries of an unstoppable bull run, but this isn't just about price charts. Physical stockpiles are going away. Demand from businesses is at an all-time high, and the paper-silver market is about to break. Oil prices are expected to reach $500 a barrel, gold prices are being pushed up to over $20,000, and paper currencies around the world are falling fast toward a historic collapse. Now the question isn't if silver will move or not. It's about how ready you are to act before the market closes down and you miss your chance. Yeah, left in April of last year. It's clear that the market was surprised by how high the tariffs were when they were announced. At that time, Trump was still in the middle of talking. The market believed it, and this will destroy the country. There will be a huge drop in prices, and most managers and upmarket analysts will start to sell at that point. You begin to hear, we're not going back to the top now that the top is in. We're on our way to 4,000. We want to reach 3,000. It's a bear market right now. That's when I raised my goal for the S&P from 7,500 to 8,000, along with all the other averages, just below 49 million. I think I raised the Nasdaq from 23 to 25 or 25 to 27 at that time. But my point was that everyone became so bearish so quickly that mood was back to where it was at the lowest point in 2020. I saw that we rebuilt the wall of worry very quickly in just a couple of weeks, and everyone was on the wrong side. As usual, I thought the opposite and became more bullish. Yeah, I think we pretty much rebuilt the wall of worry. You need that wall of worry to get you through this last leg. Even though you're up 30% from the lows, people say, well, that's fine. When you show a lot of doubt, they thought it was going to be a double top, but we had another run. It went through what I thought it would probably go through. Now they're looking at it and saying, gee, I don't know what to do. But they're not positive. Some people are really getting on board and going with the flow a bit, but a lot of people are still saying, oh, I want to pull back. The price may still go up, but I want to take a step back. That's why I've been saying that the S&P could take a step back from, say, 6,500, but it's not given that those short-term plans will work out. As you can see from yesterday's response to the Fed, there is still a lot of doubt in those people. This could keep going in circles and feed on itself, giving you a chance to get back to the breakout area, which was around 6,100 on the S&P in this case. Would you be 6 or 7%, or maybe 5, 6, 7%? That would make a lot of people doubt the market again. People might say, oh my God, at even that small setback, given how far we've come, we may have seen the best times. That would just be, again. We were going to rebuild that wall. Don't worry. Adding more fire to the future. Or we could just see that this thing is in a kind of spinning correction, where different groups of, for example, small caps that were about to go down have now pulled back, so it's still too early to tell. I don't have a crystal ball to tell you if we'll see a slowdown or if this is just a sideways consolidation. But I think the next few months are over either way. You might stop for 2 or 3 weeks, but you might not. In July 2025, silver did something it hadn't done in more than 10 years. It broke through the $39 mark and hit highs not seen since September 2011. That wasn't just a blip on a screen. The market had been held back for 14 long years, but that wall came down. When they tried to go higher for most of that time, they were met with strong opposition. A ceiling that kept silver stuck in a frustrating range. But that ceiling came down this summer. The rise wasn't slow and steady, it was clear-cut. Because of a rush of buyers, short sellers were rushing, and futures markets showed strange price gaps between exchanges. It wasn't just silver that broke out, it was the end of a year in which prices had already gone up by 27 to 39%, with June seeing the biggest monthly gain since the early 2021 silver squeeze caused by Reddit. This kind of move is a flashing neon sign for traders who follow technicals that the start of a structural bull market is here. History shows that once silver breaks out of a long-term cap like this, the rise that follows isn't measured in small steps. There are jumps used to measure it, but this rise is only the beginning. Experts now want prices to go much higher than $39. I still think gold and silver will go up. Since April, gold has done a good job of staying put. Basically, this has been a high-level consolidation for 3.5 months between metal 3,200 and 3,450, and it's now more toward the lower end of that consolidation. I don't see much bad in this, and I think you'll basically have another leg up here. I want to buy 4,000 gold, but I can't remember when I raised my goal. However, since our last conversation, I believe I raised it from $3,400 to $4,000. I believe that will be the amount we see this year. So between now and the end of the year, you should get that much silver. Silver is more unpredictable, which scares people away. Because of how volatile it is, it often goes up and down. It ran to $39, and it looks like it will. My next resistance level is in the mid-40s, around $44 to $45. I'm not sure what it does there, whether it has a bigger pullback or just stops out and pushes through. My goal for silver is $75. That could happen by the end of this year or at the beginning of next year. Also, I don't think this sell-off is as violent as some people might think. We've gone from 39 to under 36 and change. Silver was down around 33.50 to 33.50 a month ago in early June. As the month comes to a close, it's common for metals and other markets to fill in. This is why people shouldn't be too affected by small changes in the market. For example, if your low last month was 33.25 and your high today is 36.5, you're still making higher lows and higher highs, and I think August will be another bullish month. I think silver looks great, and I think the mines are finally done. Even though they change quickly and make people nervous, they are in uptrends that will last. And my goals for silver are for SIL, which stands for large silver miners, to reach $75. I believe that is on plan, and SAIL-J to 35. That's a long way away, but I think you could see it this year. So I raised my goal for gold GDX, which had been 65 for a long time, and I raised that to $75. My GDXJ, which is young miners, stays at $100. We should be able to reach that goal, but I think we can go a little further. Indeed, I have high hopes for both the metals and the workers. David Hunter isn't afraid to say it. He thinks that the price of silver will rise to $75 by the end of this year or the beginning of next. That's not a careful guess. He is making this risky prediction because he thinks that the current forces will come together in a spectacular way. Momentum watcher Michael Oliver agrees, based on the speed and strength of recent price action. I will not stop touching emission plans for a rise to between $60 and $70 in just 5 months. Even more timid sources, such as Investing Haven, still think that silver will hit $49 in 2025, then stay around $50 in 2026, and then rise to close to $77 by 2027. The difference between these predictions doesn't show doubt. It shows that everyone agrees that silver's upside is huge. Now, here's the thing. Silver is not only going up at the same rate as gold, it's actually going up faster than gold, even though gold is at a new high. That means that silver's momentum is changing in a way that has led to its most violent rallies in the past. The direction is the same, but the goals are different. Experts all agree that the trend is going up and that the possible gains are bigger than anything we've seen in years, but those high price estimates don't take into account the market's most persistent force, which has been quietly building pressure for 4 years. In the big picture, it's important. I think the policies this government is putting in place to help growth, like reducing rules, are a good thing. The bringing back of industry to the United States, getting these deals that offer what you want. We are in charge of foreign investments in this country, so we can choose where to put those investments. I think that the immigration policy, where you control the border again, and the tax policy of the big beautiful bill will all play a part in the long-term story. I say post-bust because I'm still calling for a global bust next year, but I think those things that are good for the economy will be part of the story after the bust. In the short term, they cause volatility because people react to different things in the economy and in politics, which can cause some turbulence there. I think the story is pretty much baked into the cake. As I said with the bust, Trump's actions have nothing to do with it. This is the result of decades and decades of misappropriation of capital and cycles that got too hot and then got too tightened down. As a result, there has been this ratcheting up that happens naturally in the big cycle, in what I call a super cycle, where each cycle gets a little longer, and it takes more policy to bring it down. The excesses get worse, and it takes more policy to bring them down. Then you go overboard trying to get you out of that hole, and it starts a new cycle. This is what you get. I think someone called it a buggy whip action or a sine wave. I don't know where these steeper cycles come from, but 2008 to 2009 was our busiest post. For 4 years in a row, the silver market has been in a deep supply shortage, and 2024 was one of the worst years yet, with a shortfall of 148.9 million ounces. The gap is a huge 678 million ounces when you add up the losses from 2021 to 2024. That kind of imbalance doesn't just happen, it dries up the system. It's like taking out 10 months' worth of all the world's mines. COMEX registered silver inventories have dropped 77% from more than 150 million ounces in 2020 to just over 35 million ounces in early 2024. In London, LBMA stocks have dropped by more than 300 million ounces from their peak in 2021. All of this is happening even though total demand is only down 3% in 2024 because industrial demand is still breaking records. Analysts such as Daniel Garley warned that the LBMA's free float silver metal that is actually on the market is at its lowest level ever. Physical shortages can be seen in the form of going backwards. When short-term prices are higher than futures, it means that people are desperate for instant delivery. Deficits of about 250 million ounces have been the standard for the past 2 years, according to Sean Kun. The Silver Institute doesn't think things will get better in 2025. We expect another shortage of up to 215 million ounces. There aren't enough goods to go around in this market. It's getting very tight, and that's before we even think about the huge amount of new demand that's about to hit. I raised it again to 8,700, so it's clear that I'm the most optimistic person on the street. I believe we are in the last leg of a 43-year secular bull market. We've already talked about that, and there will be setbacks along the way. I think this one will be here soon, but this thing can move up and down a lot more before we run into any trouble. It might go by quickly. When we get to the top, I think the last leg will go ballistic. So parabolic means almost straight up and very steep, which means you can cover a lot of ground quickly. Those numbers seem crazy until you see how fast this thing can move. That's why everyone wants to pick a time. That might happen by fall, I've said. It doesn't have to, but that's still my opinion before we go. To start things off, we just sent out the official Silver News daily message. We're giving away 10 ounces of silver. Yes, real metal silver, not a coupon or digital credits, real metal. This telegram will be our new place to talk about silver in real time, get market views, share collection pics, and talk about anything else related to precious metals. It's where the city really comes to life. How to enter to win a 10-ounce silver bar. Sign up to get daily silver news on YouTube. Set the bell to ring when you comment on 3 different videos and give away 10 ounces. Say hello to people in the Telegram group and be an active member. When we reach 500 active members, we'll pick a winner and send them 10 ounces of silver straight.